Vincent and I had a whirlwind wedding. My girlfriends asked me what it's like sleeping with a retired special ops guy. I mumbled and couldn't answer, because we hadn't slept together. They came to a conclusion: he got injured, down there. Vincent pressed me down on the bed, clarifying seriously, "I'm not injured. It works. How about you give it a thorough inspection tonight? I'm probably the only bride who gets dragged back to her parents' house by her friends on her wedding night, leaving the groom to spend the night alone in our new home." Early the next morning, Vincent drove to my parents' house, where I was in the middle of a poker game with my friends. After lunch, he naturally drove me back to our new place. I couldn't find a single reason to refuse. It's not that I was being difficult, I was just a little scared. Although I once had a wild impulse to find a guy for a one-night stand, it ended with us sleeping in separate beds, a peaceful night for both. Maybe my resistance was mainly due to a lack of affection. We had only known each other for 3 months and had seen each other less than 20 times. It just wasn't enough time to fall for him. Ping. A message came through the work group chat. "Mr. Davis, to the following teachers, please reply with received once you see this message. We will be going to see City for a week-long training seminar. Send your ID numbers and other info privately to Ms. Peterson for train ticket booking." Among the 4 or 5 names, I spotted my own and my heart leaped with joy. This was great, 5 days of training. So, when the vice principal sent a follow-up message asking, "We didn't consider that you just got married when making the arrangements. Do you still want to go? If not, I can find a replacement right now." I replied with the utmost professionalism, "It's no problem. I can go. Work comes first." "What's got you so happy?" Vincent asked, his eyes smiling at me in the rearview mirror. The joy on my face instantly froze. "Well, this is a bit awkward, but I'm a good actress," I said excitedly. "The school is finally giving me a big opportunity. They're sending me to see City for training." Vincent smiled along with me. "That's great. When do you leave?" I said, "Tonight." He suddenly gripped the steering wheel so tight the veins on the back of his hand bulged and disappeared into his sleeve. Then, just as quickly, he relaxed. "Is that so? Then you'll need to pack as soon as we get home." "Okay." Was he angry just now? That was kind of scary. The large, red double happiness wedding decoration was still on the front door. Streamers still hung from the living room ceiling, and needless to say, the balloons in the bedroom were still there, colorful and tied with shimmering silver ribbons that looked beautiful under the light. I had just moved my things over a few days ago, and several large suitcases were sitting in the corner. "Do you have a smaller suitcase?" I turned to ask Vincent, who was behind me, only to realize he was standing incredibly close. One small step back and I'd be pressed against his chest. I nonchalantly took 2 steps forward to grab a suitcase. Vincent stepped up and beat me to it, lifting the suitcase out and laying it flat. The back of his hand brushed against mine, and the unfamiliar warmth made me instinctively pull away. That wasn't the right way to react. I didn't dare look up to see his expression. Vincent flexed his fingers and said with something like a sigh, "I'll go get it for you." I felt a little guilty. I started packing my clothes while Vincent leaned against the door, scrolling through his phone. "It's going to rain in Sea City for the next few days, and the temperature will drop. You should bring a jacket and long pants. It's hillier there, so it's colder than here." I was surprised. I hadn't expected him to check the weather in Sea City. "Okay." I casually tossed a light blazer and a pair of wide leg pants into the suitcase. With him standing there, it was too awkward to pack my underwear. Super awkward. "I'll go get you a toothbrush, toothpaste, and a towel." I let out a sigh of relief. "Thanks." I quickly grabbed 2 sets of underwear and stuffed them at the bottom of the suitcase, then added some face masks and my skincare bottles. Just then, my phone rang. It was Mr. Davis. I panicked a little. "Don't tell me I can't go anymore." "Please, no." "Mr. Davis." "Alice, can you leave at 4 p.m.? There are no more tickets for tonight, so. This was a godsend. A brilliant smile burst across my face as I nodded repeatedly. Yes, of course, I'm almost packed. Great. See you at the station. Okay. I hung up, so overwhelmed with joy that I couldn't contain it and burst out laughing, ha ha ha, only to stop abruptly when I saw Vincent at the doorway. Ahem, I coughed into my hand. Jenna just told me a joke. Vincent's expression was unreadable. He handed me the neatly packed bags of toiletries, along with a phone charger and Bluetooth headphones. His voice was flat. I'll take you to the West Station. Oh, he heard everything. Thanks. I wanted to cover my face, to find a hole to crawl into. I finished packing and slung my bag over my shoulder. Vincent casually stepped forward, zipped up the suitcase, and grabbed the handle. Let's go. I trailed behind him timidly, my head down, all the way to the underground garage where I opened the back door of the car. Vincent paused. You. I poked my head in and then back out. What's wrong? Nothing. He put the suitcase in the trunk and got into the driver's seat. The training was nothing new. The first day consisted of a school tour, watching a performance of their special cultural program, and an opening ceremony for the observation period, after which we returned to the hotel. I was busy complaining to my friends, I'm so over this. I can't sleep in a new bed. I was wide awake half the night, got maybe 4 hours of sleep, and I was about to doze off sitting in the audience. Jenna sent me a private message. My brother-in-law was back early this morning helping my aunt and uncle load sweet potatoes onto their pickup truck. Without thinking, I replied, what brother-in-law? Then it hit me, oh, right, her sister is me, and I got married the day before yesterday. I retracted the message and sent a new one. You mean Vincent? Do I have another brother-in-law? I'm just not used to being married yet. Jenna didn't reply but sent a photo instead. Vincent was wearing his PT gear, a pair of camo pants. The hem of his shirt was tucked into his waistband, and a black belt cinched his waist tightly. Because he was leaning over to lift something, the angle accentuated his lean, powerful waist. He was wearing high-top combat boots with the pants tucked in, making his legs look long and cool. He was shouldering a sack of sweet potatoes, one hand gripping the bag and the other on the side of the truck bed, poised to toss the large sack in. His arm muscles were bulging. With the morning sky and the open fields as a backdrop, bathed in the glow of dawn, he looked like he was in a high-fashion photo shoot. I quickly hit download, then realized what I had just done and covered my face, unable to suppress the heat rising within me. You definitely used a filter. I want the original. This is the original. When did your photography skills get so good? The person next to me, Laura, bumped me, startling me and causing my phone to fall to the floor. Ms. Alice, what are your thoughts on today's tour? Ms. Peterson asked. Damn my weakness for handsome men. I mentally screamed as I stood up and calmly replied, the school's campus is absolutely beautiful, my thoughts racing as I delivered a coherent response. When I sat down, Laura had already picked up my phone and handed it back to me, giving me a strange look. I took the phone, thanked her, and unlocked it. The screen brightly displayed a close-up of Vincent's trim waist and his butt, which filled out the camo pants perfectly. It looked so firm and bouncy. It's not what you think. I didn't do anything. Don't get the wrong idea. Damn my weakness for handsome men. Vincent sent a message. Have you eaten? Was training tiring today? Suddenly, my food lost its flavor. I started agonizing over how to reply politely without sounding distant. With rice in my mouth and chopsticks between my teeth, I typed with both hands, eating now. After a thought, I added, what about you? Vincent sent back a photo of a large round table. In the center was a fiery red, spicy dish, surrounded by double-cooked pork, smoked sausage, stir-fried intestines, and garlic clams. Vincent, at home, eating with mom and dad and my aunt and uncle. That sentence made me pause. It took a moment for my brain to process it, the mom and dad Vincent was talking about were my mom and dad, my aunt and uncle. It felt a little strange, having a man I'd only known for a few months call my parents' mom and dad and sit down for a meal with my relatives. Jenna sent a message. It was a photo of the exact same table with the exact same dishes, just from a different angle. My brother-in-law made it. The spicy buffalo wings are to die for. Vincent knows how to cook. Does that mean I can hand over kitchen duties to him from now on? The 5-day training was over, and Vincent and I had closed a significant gap between us online. Yes, online. Like pen pals. The feeling was quite familiar. I did have a trendy online relationship back in college, but after I lost my phone, I couldn't remember the password to my side account and couldn't recover it, so we lost touch. I was sad about it for a while, but then I got distracted by the big wide world and completely forgot about him. I vented to Vincent about the training, about other people's bosses, and how the work for the arts festival was already being assigned before the training was even over. Vincent would share stories about stray cats he met on the street, gossip about supermarket employees, and the bizarre customers he encountered. But I didn't tell anyone I was coming back. After getting off the train with my colleagues and watching them get picked up one by one, I finally boarded a bus, thinking the ride would give me time to figure out how to interact with Vincent in our future life together. I overestimated myself. By the time the bus swayed to a stop at our apartment complex, I still hadn't figured it out, so I just stood there with my suitcase, not daring to go in. Online is online, but real life is real life. I resolutely turned around and started walking away with my suitcase. I decided to stay at Jenna's place for a few days. Alice, a deep, rich male voice called from behind me. For some reason, I heard a warning in that single word. My hair stood on end as I turned around. Vincent had just gotten out of his car, his face calm. He closed the car door and strode over in a few long steps, standing before me like a wall. The sun was at his back, and I was amazed to find he could completely block it out, casting me in his shadow. Vincent reached out and took my suitcase, his palm brushing the back of my hand. It was warm. Why didn't you tell me you were coming back? I could have picked you up. I clenched my hand, the feeling of his touch was still vivid, like a cat's soft belly brushing against my skin. I forced a laugh. I was afraid you'd be busy, and it's not far anyway. No matter how busy I am, I always have time to pick you up, Vincent said, taking my wrist and leading me across the street. Have you eaten? What do you want to eat? Vincent asked so naturally, as if he hadn't noticed my stiffness. My wrist was held tightly, the warmth of his palm hotter than my own body temperature, almost searing. I uncomfortably turned my face away, not daring to look at him for too long, and mumbled, "Whatever's fine." Then let's go home, get you settled, and we can go for hot pot. He was very happy, the joy radiating from the corners of his eyes. His gaze was soft, and a smile played on his lips the entire time he spoke to me. I felt even more guilty. I was avoiding coming home, while he was waiting anxiously. I felt like a heartless husband who didn't want to come home to his devoted wife. The wedding decorations were still on the door. Vincent opened it and let me in first. As I stepped inside, I glanced around. The house was spotless. I bent down to change into my slippers. The door closed, and suddenly, Vincent wrapped his arms around me from behind, holding me tight. He buried his head in the crook of my neck, nuzzling me. I felt something warm and soft pressed gently against my neck as he murmured, "I missed you." I felt like I'd been thrown into a steaming basket, instantly enveloped by scorching hot steam. It was hot, so hot, especially the burning heat against my back. The strength of his arms around my waist, his warm, wet breath on my neck, the hard, hot muscles pressing against me through my thin summer clothes, and his slightly ragged breathing. I didn't dare move, didn't even dare to blink, just stood there rigidly in his embrace. My heart was pounding, my face was burning. I can't imagine how red my face is right now. Let me help you unpack. Do you have any clothes that need washing? Vincent finally let me go, changed his shoes, and pushed the suitcase inside. I quickly squatted down to arrange my shoes, avoiding any chance of him seeing my face, and stammered, "I think so, maybe." "Wait, he's going to unpack for me?" "No. I have unwashed clothes in there." I shot up and hurried into the room. "I can do it, I'll just..." Vincent suddenly turned, opened his arms, and pulled me into a tight embrace, lowering his head to kiss me. My brain seemed to turn to mush. At first, he just moved his lips against mine, then he forcefully parted my teeth, exploring and claiming with urgency. After a long while, he finally stopped, breathing heavily. "I misspoke," Vincent said, looking straight into my eyes, leaving me no room to escape. His gaze was dark, his voice low and husky. "I missed you a lot. Day and night." I was about to explode. I was burning up, inside and out. I was stammering. Vincent smiled slightly, nuzzled my nose with his, and slowly let me go. "You can unpack now." My eyes, as if by some strange force, glanced down at his pants. Holy crap. He was pitching a huge tent. I quickly turned away, laid the suitcase flat, and pretended I hadn't seen a thing. I took out my clothes, and when I went to get hangers from the closet, I froze. All my summer clothes were already neatly hung up. My underwear and socks were sorted and put away in organizers. It gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. I invited Jenna and Lily to join us. I was afraid it would be awkward to eat with him alone. Vincent invited his army buddy. "Why are you blushing?" "We're just having a meal," Jenna asked me. I quickly buried my face in my bowl. "It's spicy, it's just really spicy." Vincent glanced at me from the corner of his eye, a faint smile on his face. After dinner, since Vincent hadn't been drinking, he drove Lily and his friend Sam, who lived farther away. I linked arms with Jenna and waved goodbye to everyone in the car, not daring to look at Vincent in the driver's seat. I felt his gaze on me, like a homeroom teacher watching a misbehaving student who still showed no remorse. I almost couldn't take it. I had planned to use this as an excuse to go home with Jenna. But Jenna refused. "Didn't you see the look Vincent gave me when he drove off? It was a total, if you even think about spiriting Alice away, you're dead meat look. You're exaggerating." I nudged her. She nudged me back. No means no. She shook me off and took off running. I ran home, made a beeline for the bathroom, took a quick shower, changed into my pajamas, and burrowed into the far side of the bed. I closed my eyes and started hypnotizing myself. I'm asleep, I'm asleep, I'm asleep, I'm asleep. My phone vibrated. I opened it. "Lily, he's driving like a maniac, flooring it right from the start. Does he think we're sacks of potatoes?" In just a few minutes, I almost got carsick from being thrown around. "He must be in a real hurry to get something done, huh? Jenna, that's not just driving fast, that's flying low. Your husband gave me a look when he got out of the car. It sent a chill down my spine. Alice, you're so done for. You're about to be eaten alive." I slapped my phone shut and swallowed hard, trying to comfort myself. It won't happen, I'm asleep, I'm asleep." But then, I clearly heard the front door open, the sound of keys being placed on the shoe cabinet, the door closing, footsteps coming towards the bedroom door opening. I couldn't help but hold my breath. My hearing was sharper than a cat's right now. I heard Vincent enter the room, stand by the bed for a moment, then open the closet to get clothes before leaving and closing the door. I sighed in relief, but then tensed up again. He went to take a shower, which means. No. Get to sleep. Wait. If a guy wants to, does he care if you're asleep? Online and waiting, this is urgent. The water stopped. He's opening the door. I was so nervous my whole body was tense. He went to the living room. I slowly let out a breath. Waiting, worrying, my mind racing with crazy thoughts, I eventually fell asleep. I was woken up by Vincent. I groggily opened my eyes to the sight of Vincent's sharply defined face, strong features, long, thick eyelashes, and dark, deep eyes. I stared for a second, then shot up, covering my mouth and nose as I turned away. Gee, good morning. Worried about morning breath, worried about drool. Worried about a nosebleed. Just now, Vincent had been kneeling on the bed with one leg, his hands braced on either side of me as he leaned over to wake me up. It was just so incredibly sexy. I could even see the tantalizing view down his loose collar, firm, well-built chest muscles, a tight stomach. Hurry and get washed up. I'll take you to work after breakfast. I kept my head turned away. Okay, thanks. From the corner of my eye, I watched Vincent push himself back, move his kneeling leg off the bed, stand up, and walk out. I needed some cold water to cool myself down. I scrambled out of bed and rushed towards the bathroom without looking, and bam, I ran right into someone. A solid chest. A scorching body temperature. Vincent quickly steadied me, tilting his head. Are you okay? I'm not okay. Let go of me. My brain is automatically replaying yesterday's kiss scene. Damn my weakness for handsome men. I'm fine. Vincent gripped my shoulders and pushed me back a little. Did you hit your nose? Is it bleeding? Are his hands really this big? It felt like he was covering my entire shoulder. His palms are so hot. No, I'm going to brush my teeth. I quickly spun around, dove into the bathroom, and slammed the door, locking it in one smooth motion. I splashed my face with cold water and looked at my dripping reflection in the mirror. Something's wrong with me. Why is my mind so full of dirty thoughts today? I'm not the innocent, pure person I used to be. Alice, are you done? I need to use the bathroom. I quickly spit out the toothpaste, rinsed my mouth, wiped my face, and opened the door. Vincent was standing there like a wall. I squeezed past him. Perfect timing. As we passed each other, our bodies inevitably touched, making my hair stand on end. I could feel Vincent's breath on the top of my head and was acutely aware of the oppressive feeling from our height and size difference. Flustered, I applied my toner and moisturizer and then put on some simple makeup. Breakfast was already on the table: porridge, buns, boiled eggs, and steamed sweet potatoes. Oh my God. This is the life. In the parking garage, Vincent opened the passenger door for me before I could. My plan to sit in the back was foiled. Just as I sat down, he leaned in to buckle my seatbelt. He was so close I could feel the heat radiating from his body. I sat rigidly, my face turned to the side, not daring to move. My brain unexpectedly started conjuring up various movie scenes that could be filmed in a car. No, why are all the plots from trashy novels I've read suddenly popping into my head today? Vincent got into the driver's seat. After a moment of hesitation, I mumbled, I can buckle my own seatbelt. Vincent smiled warmly. I like taking care of you. I slowly turned my face away and gently rolled down the window, letting the cool morning breeze hit my face to cool me down. Back at school, I threw myself into my work, so busy I barely had time to breathe. Even though I'm in an administrative role, I was assigned a lot of tasks related to the arts festival. At night, I'd get home and collapse on the sofa, not wanting to move. Vincent would cook. After dinner, I'd play a couple of rounds of a game while he did the dishes and tidied up. I'd take a shower and fall asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow. When the weekend came, I slept in until the sun was high in the sky. Vincent had already left for work. I ate breakfast and went to the school again. It wasn't until the arts festival was over that I finally had some free time. Jenna organized a barbecue at a farmhouse-style resort. The resort had a nice setup, with individual villa-style buildings, though calling them villas was an exaggeration. They were just brick houses with tiled walls and glazed roofs, each with a yard, situated by a large fish pond where you could also fish. Vincent's cooking skills are amazing. His barbecue was so good it earned endless praise. In just one outing, he was already on a first-name basis with all my friends, like one of the guys. Jenna and the others kept telling me I hit the jackpot. I thought so too. After so many days of sharing a bed without incident, my nervousness and caution had mostly faded. I could even chat with Vincent in bed for a bit. It was like we were good buddies, good roommates sharing a bed. My good roommate would occasionally bring me flowers, a single rose, a sunflower, a lily. I looked at the vase on the dining table. It started with one flower, and now it was a whole bouquet. In Lily's words, you can tell he's a seasoned veteran of the dating world. She sidled up to me mischievously. I hear he was in the special forces. So, what's he like in bed? I couldn't answer because we'd never done it. Jenna's words were shocking. What? You still haven't consummated the marriage? It's been over a month, right? Is he not able to perform? Could it be, during training, or on a mission, he injured that place? I remembered the bulging tent I'd seen that one time. So, it doesn't work? Lily, it's possible. Otherwise, why would someone from Q City come all the way here? With his qualifications, how could he still be single at 30 and need to go on blind dates? Jenna, huh? If that's true, then besides smothering you with his saliva, what else can he do? Her eyes darted around, and she urged me on mischievously, why don't you go and test it out? No way. I don't want to be smothered in saliva a second time. Back in the city, Lily suggested we all go to a bar. I was very tempted, but the moment I shifted, Vincent pressed me down. Yes, he held me down. Vincent leaned over to the passenger side, his hand covering mine as I was about to unbuckle my seatbelt. He smiled at the people outside the car. We're going to sit this one out, we've got things to do at home. You guys have fun, we'll catch up next time. I was stunned by his sudden move, even subconsciously trying to figure out what we had to do at home. Oh, his thing to do was to drag me for a walk in the park. As the cool evening breeze blew, I tried to recall how I got here. I remembered his face, extremely close, the warmth of his body, and a faint scent of lilies from the laundry detergent we used at home. And that hand on mine, large, warm, slightly rough. Dominating, yet gentle. My heart felt a little warm, no, my face felt a little warm. Actually, my whole body felt a little warm. Vincent suddenly pulled a blue velvet box out of his pocket. Here. I didn't dare to look him in the eye, so I looked down as I took it. What is it? My blind guess was that it wasn't a ring, since I kept our wedding rings in a drawer on my dresser. See if you like them. If not, we can exchange them. I opened the lid. A pair of white pearl earrings lay inside, gleaming against the black lining. He leaned in slightly and asked, want to try them on? Maybe the moonlight was too beautiful, or the sound of the flowing river was too enchanting. Or maybe the tenderness and anticipation in his eyes were just too intoxicating. I nodded. His long fingers picked up an earring, and with one hand, he gently brushed my hair aside and leaned down. The warmth of his fingers on my ear felt like an electric current, sending a tingling, ticklish sensation down my ear and neck. I could feel my face burning. Done. He took out his phone and opened the front camera. Look good. Dark hair, white pearls, and a face and ears red as a beet. Kill me now. I quickly turned my face away, nodding perfunctorily. Emicham, yeah, they look good. Let's go, let's check out that spot over there. Back home, I washed up and went to bed. I felt a little nervous. My tension peaked when Vincent lay down on the bed. I lay with my back to him, my ears pricked up, and heard him open the nightstand drawer and take something out. Could it be a condom? Then, I heard the sound of a book being opened. I sighed in relief. Wait, why am I a little disappointed? Is he really not able to? I'm not so innocent anymore. When I woke up, Vincent had already come back from grocery shopping. I wanted to put the things in the fridge, but he came over after washing his hands, held my shoulders, and half pushed, half carried me out of the kitchen to the dining table. Soy milk and fried dough sticks. Go on and eat your breakfast. After putting away the groceries, he put the dirty clothes from the hamper into the washing machine, tidied up the sofa, and wiped down the coffee table and TV stand. I felt a bit awkward and started making small talk. This feels like the first weekend we've spent together since we got married. Vincent glanced back at me. It is. His expression was neutral, but I felt like it was full of condemnation. My stupid mouth, always bringing up the sorest subjects. I dutifully took the broom and swept the floor while he mopped. He started a new topic, chatting about the supermarket business, other people's family drama, and real estate prices. I hung the laundry while he started cooking. I hate cooking, so I went to the living room and put on a variety show I hadn't finished. As long as I have no shame, no one can guilt-trip me into helping in the kitchen. Just as I was cackling with laughter, a voice came from the kitchen, "Alice, come help me tie my apron." Turns out, I do have some shame after all. Coming. I ran into the kitchen in my slippers, looking around. Where's the apron? Over there. Vincent pointed to the wall. I took it down, my mind still on my show. Vincent stood with his back to the stove, his arms raised, his hands covered in sauce. I had no choice but to wrap my arms around his waist in an embrace to tie the apron strings. After tying it, I looked at his waist, cinched tightly by the apron. His loose t-shirt was slightly transparent, and at this close distance, I could faintly see his firm muscles. I wondered what they felt like. On a devilish impulse, I reached out and pinched his waist. What kind of pervert am I? I snatched my hand back as if electrocuted, laughing awkwardly. Your waist is pretty slim. I wanted to slap myself. If you can't say something smart, just shut up. To avoid making things worse, I turned and fled. Sitting on the sofa, my heart was pounding like a drum. I'm losing my mind, I'm losing my mind, I'm losing my mind. I actually touched him. And the texture was actually pretty good, firm, flexible, and quite slim. Alice, come help me roll up my sleeves. A shiver went down my spine, and my hair stood on end. I felt like I'd just been caught doing something bad by the principal. I looked back. Vincent was standing at the kitchen entrance with his hands up. What is it? I felt inexplicably guilty. Help me roll up my sleeves, he said, raising his arms. You ran off too fast just now, I didn't have time to stop you. I reluctantly dragged myself over and rolled up his sleeves, one by one, pushing them up to his elbows. The muscles in his arms were smooth and well-defined, graceful yet powerful. If he made a fist, they would bulge impressively, radiating testosterone. My mind couldn't help but picture a scene where a man grabs his wrist, pins him against a wall, and kisses him forcefully. So stimulating. I started babbling. Your muscles look really good. Do they? Thanks for the compliment. A deep laugh rumbled from his chest. Charming and dangerous. Go on, go watch your show before you miss the good part and get mad at me. His words, his smile, his tone, it all felt so intimate. My heart fluttered along with it, a fine, tingling sensation spreading from its depths. I sat back down on the sofa, stunned. Before I could calm down, another call came from the kitchen. Alice, can you help me wipe my eyes? I splashed some water in them. I'm numb to it now. I grabbed 2 tissues from the living room and made my third trip to the kitchen. Vincent had his head slightly bowed, his eyes closed. His long, thick eyelashes were dotted with tiny, glistening water droplets, making him look as if he'd been crying. The forced kiss against a wall scenario in my head had escalated to a full-blown non-consensual fantasy. I was so excited my hands were shaking. I gently dabbed his eyelids and started spouting nonsense again. Your eyelashes are really nice, hee. I rushed back to the sofa, trying to clear my head of all the trashy thoughts. After dinner, I took the initiative to clear the table and wash the dishes. I walked into the kitchen with 1 plate, 2 bowls, and 2 pairs of chopsticks, and was stunned to see the stove was so clean it looked like it hadn't even been used. So, all I really had to do was clear the table and wash the dishes. It was my dad's birthday. Vincent took me out early in the morning to buy groceries, order a cake, and get a gift. After we got home with bags full of stuff, he immediately started cleaning the house and then dove into the kitchen. My mom couldn't stand seeing me idle, so she shooed me into the kitchen to help. When my uncle, my aunt, and my other uncle arrived, my parents entertained them while the younger generation, Mark, me, and Alex, were also herded into the kitchen. I started bossing them around, telling them to do this and that. They cursed me for being a petty tyrant. Vincent said, "Alice, why don't you go take a break? They can handle it." I gloated, hands on my hips, ha 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 ha. At dinner, the adults talked about kids, education, making money, and buying a house. How much for a down payment, mortgage rates, loan terms. They were all talk and all action. After dinner, the whole group went on a grand tour of several new housing developments, just for the fun of it. Vincent, having nothing better to do, also took me to see several places, new developments and unfurnished second-hand apartments, all with large terraces or gardens. They were exactly the type of places I had described to him when we chatted. In the end, we actually found two we really liked and couldn't decide. Vincent invited my parents and my aunt and uncle to help. The four of them walked around the empty apartment, nodding in approval. I listened to my dad and my uncle talk to Vincent about the apartment's orientation, its position, something about east-west and north-south. The real estate agent who was with us couldn't even get a word in. After seeing that one, we went to see another one in the next building. Both were duplexes. Downstairs had 2 bedrooms, a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, and 2 bathrooms. Upstairs had 1 bedroom, a living room, 1 bathroom, and came with a large terrace and a rooftop deck. Which one do you think is better? Vincent's voice broke through my thoughts. When I didn't respond, he asked again, "Or do you want to see the ground floor unit? The one with the big garden?" I snapped back to reality. "I think the top floor is better." "So which one do you like more?" I thought back on the 2 apartments and said carefully, "That one's bedroom shares a wall with the neighbors, but this one doesn't. It feels more private. And the view from this one seems more open, and it's not right next to the road, so it should be darker and quieter at night." Vincent listened thoughtfully. My parents shot a look at my aunt and uncle, and the 4 of them stepped aside, probably to discuss lending us money. Vincent made a decision. "Let's go with this one then. If it doesn't work out, we can always move later." Hearing that we'd decided, the 4 adults hurried back over. Before they could say anything, Vincent said, "We'll pay in full. Can I use a card?" I was still in a daze after signing the contract. Yes. Paid in full. In my name. An apartment worth over $1 million. Vincent paid for it. And just like that, with a swipe of a card, I had a new apartment. Outside the sales office, my mom pulled me into a corner for a lecture. "You better be good to Vincent. He just casually gave you an apartment worth over $1 million, and the deed is only in your name. You can't let him down." Wait a minute. Doesn't this feel a little impulsive? Is buying a house something you just decide on the spot? And, you just put it in my name, just like that? So, does this mean I should be nicer to Vincent? Like, I cook, I sweep, I do the laundry, and he just relaxes on the side? What happened today was a huge shock, and I'm only just now starting to process it. At bedtime, I hesitated for a moment, but decided to ask, "How do you have so much money?" "I got a lump sum when I left the army. I barely touched my salary for the past 10 years. The supermarket brings in some profit, and my brother gave me some." Vincent ruffled my hair. "I originally wanted to give it all to you as a bride price, but I asked around and the highest standard here is only around $20,000. I was worried it would be too much and make people jealous, so I thought of a different way." The more I listened, the more shocked I was. So this person had been thinking about all this when I still considered him a stranger? Besides, your family only asked for a $6,000 bride price and said they'd help with the down payment for a house, and we could put both our names on the deed. I figured buying it after we got married would be fine too. Why are you so good to me? Vincent gazed at me, his eyes holding 1,000 unspoken words. Figure it out yourself. Love at first sight? He didn't react. I guessed again, love that grew over time? He lay down. Let's sleep. Why does he seem a little down? Vincent suddenly had to go on a business trip. Apparently, there was a problem with one of the supermarket supply chains. He had to go check it out and might have to find a new supplier after his inspection. How did I feel? I almost burst out laughing. I spent the night at Jenna's, went to a bar with Lily to flirt with cute waiters, and went for barbecues and hiking with Alex and the others. I was having a blast. But after getting used to having someone around, waking up to breakfast, and coming home to dinner, being alone in the house just felt wrong. So, I went back to my parents' house. And just like that, I had breakfast and dinner again. Half a month flew by in the blink of an eye. It wasn't until Vincent said he was arriving that night that I rushed home to clean up, change the sheets, and do the laundry. As soon as I was done, I immediately joined Jenna and the others for a gaming session. When I heard the door open, I quickly glanced over. You're back. Then I immediately turned back to my phone, jumping up in frustration. Kevin. Someone's stealing our blue buff. I was completely absorbed in the game. It was only when Vincent's arms wrapped around my waist and his chin rested on my shoulder that I snapped back to reality. When did I end up sitting in his lap? His body was blazing hot, scorching. I froze. The hero under my control stopped moving, standing still in the tall grass. What's wrong? Vincent asked. His breath tickled my neck and ear, sending a shiver through me. Alice, hurry up and help. Kevin's roar came from the phone. Help my ass. How am I supposed to play like this? I sat stiffly in Vincent's lap, feeling like a piece of bacon sizzling on a hot skillet. I was burning up, practically smoking. My mind was a complete mess. I felt like I was going crazy. I'm going crazy. You. He pressed his face against my neck, rubbing gently. I think I'm about to catch fire. Let me play for you. His husky voice in my ear, his heavy breath on the side of my neck. The stimulation was making my brain short-circuit. Vincent took both of my hands in his thumbs flying across the screen. My hero started moving again, unleashing a dazzling array of skills. I was quickly drawn in. However, the battle ended abruptly. The phone screen went black. I froze, suddenly feeling something strange behind me, something pressing against my lower back. That's... I'm a dead woman. Warm lips pressed against my neck, his breath hot, his hands holding my waist tightly. I was sweating all over. Honey, I missed you so much. Day and night. Boom. Fireworks exploded in my head. I was completely dazed, my mind filled with the sound of his rough, panting whisper of honey. He carried me into the bedroom and pressed me onto the bed, pinning both of my wrists with one hand. He thrust his hips forward slightly, clarifying seriously, I'm not injured. It works. How about you give it a thorough inspection tonight? The sensation against my leg was vivid and made my scalp tingle. A sharp scream was muffled by his mouth. In the dead of night, I was so tired I felt like I'd lost half my life. I begged him, and no more inspecting. Just one more inspection. Everything hurts. It's the kind of pain you get from running 2 miles after not running for 3 years, and then being forced to do 200 frog jumps. The moment I moved, I realized I was being held in someone's arms, warm and toasty, with something formidable pressing against my leg. I was instantly wide awake. I didn't dare to move, my face a mask of misery. Vincent chuckled, the vibration in his chest clearly joyful. Are you getting up, or do you want to sleep in? I don't dare to sleep. I tried to wiggle out of Vincent's embrace. You get out first. Vincent's eyes darkened. How about we sleep together one more time? My whole body stiffened. Vincent laughed, pinched my cheek, and got up to get ready. I bolted after breakfast. Yes, I ran. Like an escapee from a mountain cult who finally got a chance at freedom. I went to crash at Jenna's place. The moment Jenna saw me, she exclaimed, "You finally did it? Vincent actually waited this long?" I said, "What do you mean, waited this long? Weren't you the one saying he was injured down there and couldn't perform? You're the one making up all the theories. So, can he or can't he? He definitely can. Look at your neck, look at how you're half dead." Jenna eyed me knowingly. "He almost killed you, didn't he?" My brain uncontrollably started replaying the events. I felt a little warm, then warmer and warmer, until I felt like steam was about to come out of my head. I didn't hide at Jenna's for long. Because my uncle, Jenna's dad, called and told us to come back for a shrimp dinner. It sounded like a coincidence, but I later found out the real story. Vincent had called my uncle, saying he'd gotten a bottle of good wine but sadly had no snacks to go with it. I guess this is what they call acquiring a taste for something. Are all veterans this energetic? Before bed, in the middle of the night, after sunrise. I wanted to sleep in a separate room, but Vincent refused. I wanted to cry. The renovations were put on the agenda. I insisted on being in charge of the renovations, including paying for them. Vincent hired an interior designer, supposedly a college friend. I was shocked. "You went to college?" The designer, Jake, laughed. Vincent went into the army after graduating from college. He majored in finance back then. I started counting on my fingers. Graduated high school at around 18, graduated college at 22. 21. I started elementary school when I was 5. Vincent and Jake were measuring things with a tape measure. Jake said with a smirk, "What about that person you were searching for all over Beijing?" What about searching all over Beijing? At dinner that night, Sam was acting like he was on steroids, finding every excuse to toast Jake. He had completely shed his usually mild-mannered persona and was like a soldier charging into battle, fearless and ready to die. Jenna asked me, "What's gotten into Sam?" I glanced at Vincent. Vincent ordered him to get Jake drunk. So ruthless. Why? Because he let slip some crucial information. My frustration had fermented into anger. I launched my own attack, sending a message to our group chat, "Get Jake and Sam wasted." Excellent. The scene became incredibly lively. Vincent and I sat back like master fishermen, watching the chaos unfold. One toast for a friendship that spans the country, another for the fate that brought us all together, another wishing him luck in love, another for landing endless clients, another for... Sam and Jake were bewildered, downing glass after glass under the relentless assault, completely numb. I started it off. That year, Vincent was searching all over Beijing for someone. Sam picked up the story. He had just finished his shift standing guard, and as soon as he was done, he rushed to ask the platoon leader for leave, saying he had to find someone. Then he just plunged into the swirling snow. Beijing is huge, finding one person is like finding a needle in a haystack. Vincent was gone for a long time. When the platoon leader finally found him with us, Vincent was covered in snow, a complete snowman. His hands, feet, and face were blue from the cold, and we couldn't even pull him away. We didn't know who he was looking for, he was in such a hurry he didn't even wear his heavy coat. He got sick as soon as he got back. He was even crying in his sleep, still looking for someone, muttering where, and why can't I find them? The political instructor thought he'd get sick and turn into an idiot, but he actually recovered. Vincent got a major demerit for that and was then transferred to the Southwest Military Region. Epilogue: Vincent's perspective. On his wedding night, not only was his wife at her parents' house, but the next day she was gleefully heading out for a 5-day training seminar. That little look on her face, beaming with joy. Vincent had to restrain himself from questioning her, "Is your wedding leave over already?" At the station, the little thing eagerly grabbed her suitcase and ran off. Vincent watched Alice huffing and puffing up the stairs with her suitcase, his eyes narrowing slightly, a slow smile spreading across his lips. "Ha! You can run for a while, but you can't run forever." Alice didn't tell Vincent when she was coming back, so seeing her at the entrance of the complex was both a surprise and a delight. However, from his car, he saw all of Alice's conflict and hesitation. The way she looked, you'd think she was about to face a mountain of swords and a sea of fire. Alice's expression hardened, and Vincent thought she had finally mustered the courage to go home. But then she turned, grabbing her suitcase and walking away, as if she had made some great resolution. Vincent laughed in exasperation. He opened the car door, got out, and called her name, Alice. If she dared to run, he wouldn't be so polite. The little thing actually had a look of regret on her face, as if thinking, why didn't I run faster? Vincent went over, grabbed her wrist, and led her home. She struggled discreetly the entire time, but Vincent didn't let her succeed. All the way, he thought about how to teach her a lesson. Forcing him to spend his wedding night alone was one thing, immediately leaving for a 5-day training was another, but not even coming home when she was right at the door. He turned to glance at her. The little thing was following him meekly, looking like she was heading to her doom. Forget it. She was just tired of being pushed into marriage and only married him because he seemed suitable in every way. He'd have to take it slow. Boil the frog in warm water. Back home, watching her cautiously change her shoes, the longing from the past few days erupted. Vincent couldn't resist pulling her into his arms. The little thing was like a startled quail, her neck shrunk as she stood stiffly in his embrace. Let's just hug for a bit, a small perk, he thought. But the hug only stirred a man's desire even more. Vincent quickly let her go and went to the bedroom. But Alice followed him, her slippers pattering on the floor. He really couldn't take it anymore. Vincent turned and hugged her, kissing her without hesitation, but managed to stop himself at the edge. Sleeping at night was even more tormenting. To suppress his restless heart and body, Vincent took a cold shower. He lit a cigarette but didn't smoke it. He had quit before getting married. He watched the spark glow and fade at his fingertips, the white smoke curling upwards, the white ash growing longer until it broke under its own weight and fell into the ashtray. He sat until the cigarette burned out, then stubbed it out and went into the bedroom. His wife was lying on the bed. The woman who had been as stiff as a statue from nervousness was now fast asleep, sprawled out on the bed, most of her body uncovered due to the heat. The collar of her pajama top was crooked, revealing a large patch of her shoulder and delicate collarbone, which looked fair and tender in the dim light. Vincent's Adam's apple bobbed. The restlessness he had just managed to calm came rushing back. He lifted the covers, lay down stiffly, and stared at the ceiling. The sound of her breathing beside him, the faint scent of her body wash. It was pure torture. After a long while, or maybe just a moment, Vincent slowly moved his fingers, which were numb from holding still, and inched them over to the other side, closer and closer to Alice's arm, until he was holding it. Her arm was so small, he could grab both of her wrists with one hand. He wanted to clasp her wrists and pin them above her head. He closed his eyes, his Adam's apple moving rapidly. This was more grueling than any training, more testing than any mission. This was his wife. But she was scared. Vincent felt very happy. Alice's parents were very good to him, and Alice was becoming more and more relaxed around him. Every day was filled with anticipation. Taking her to work, picking her up after work, life seemed to have a purpose. As the sun set, Vincent's car was already parked at the entrance. He held the steering wheel with one hand, his eyes fixed on the gate. Alice, with her small bag slung over her shoulder, looked like a wilted vegetable that had been left in the sun for 2 days, a stark contrast to the energetic person who had walked into the school that morning. Vincent wanted to laugh, but the next second he couldn't. He watched as the listless little thing got into the car in front of him, a car that looked almost identical to his own. A while passed, and she didn't get out. Vincent resigned himself to his fate, unbuckled his seatbelt, got out of the car, and went to find his wife. Alice was resting with her eyes closed in the car when the window was knocked on. She opened her eyes to see Vincent's face, handsome and gentle in the twilight. Alice's eyes widened, and she quickly rolled down the window. "When did you get out of the car?" Vincent smiled, his eyes crinkling, his lips turning up. "Guess." "Hey beautiful, if your boyfriend doesn't come find you soon, I might just have to take you home with me," the driver in front said, turning around with a teasing look on his face. I'm so sorry." Alice suddenly realized. She had gotten into the wrong car. She wanted to die on the spot, to leave this cruel world. It's fine, the driver waved his hand. "I was also curious to see how long it would take you to realize, Alice could not haha back. Vincent opened the car door, took her arm, and led her out. He bent down and said to the driver, "Sorry for the trouble, man." "No trouble at all," the driver said, waving his hands repeatedly. Alice tried to pull her hand away from Vincent's, but he held it tighter, so she just stood there, joining Vincent in apologizing again, waiting for him to properly close the car door. "Let's go," Vincent said, leading her to his car. He stopped at the front and pointed to the license plate with a smile. "Memorize this number. I worked hard to marry this wife of mine, I can't afford to lose her." Vincent just found it funny. This dejected and withdrawn version of Alice was both adorable and pitiable. He patted the back of her head and then couldn't resist stroking it. "Get in. Dinner, a walk, sleep." Alice, as usual, retreated to the bed early. By the time Vincent came in, she was already sound asleep. Vincent leaned in, gently kissed her forehead, reached out, carefully took her hand, and quietly shifted a little closer to her side. Not far, just about a hand's width. Jenna organized a barbecue trip. As soon as Alice got out of the car, she huddled up with her childhood friends. Playing games with Jenna, fooling around with another friend, splashing in the water with Lily, not to mention everything else. Mark lifted Alice by her legs so she could reach a bright red orange at the top of a tree. Alex taught her how to cast a fishing rod hand over hand. All of that was fine. But that kid Kevin, who was a year younger than her, kept calling her sis and even fed her potato chips. Wasn't that going a bit too far? Vincent slammed a chicken wing into the aluminum basin with a thwack. It was a loud noise. It startled Sam, who was peeling potatoes next to him. Sam cautiously looked up and saw Vincent with a faint smile on his lips, looking perfectly pleasant and approachable. From experience, he knew not to look him in the eyes at a time like this. Because it had been proven many times that in this situation, those eyes were definitely laced with ice. Sam glanced over at Alice and saw her huddled head to head with her two childhood friends, someone named Kevin and someone named Alex, laughing about something. A bang sounded next to him. It was Vincent slamming a small bowl of sauce into the large basin of chicken wings. Sam silently picked up the trash can and moved further away to avoid being collateral damage. Vincent slowly exhaled a pent-up breath. The veins on his arms bulged and then relaxed, then bulged again, and then slowly relaxed. Watching Alice laugh and joke with Kevin, he smiled faintly and said in a normal tone, "Alice, come help me for a second." The noisy group fell silent for a moment. Someone shot Vincent a hostile glare. Alice walked over, a potato chip in her mouth. Seeing him covered in sweat and his hands full of sauce, she suddenly felt a little guilty. She quickly chewed and swallowed the chip, then took another one and held it out. "Want one?" Vincent didn't move his hands, just stretched his neck forward a bit. Alice got the hint, raised her hand, and fed the chip to his mouth. Vincent opened his mouth, took one end of the chip, and his lips seemed to casually brush against Alice's fingers. This. So soft, so warm. Alice was stunned. "Can you help me roll up my sleeves?" Before Alice could recover, Vincent had already begun his magic. After rolling up his sleeves, Vincent asked her to help find the salt, then to grab a basin, pass him the kitchen knife, peel a couple of cloves of garlic, twist open the soy sauce bottle, move the draining basket, and carry over the marinated pork belly. Without realizing it, Alice was revolving around Vincent. Lily nudged Jenna and motioned with her chin towards them. Look, those guys thought they could intimidate him, but their tactics are a bit weak. Kevin overheard, looked annoyed, and stood up to walk over. Lily and Alex exchanged a look, both clearly intrigued. Jenna even brought over a plate of sunflower seeds. Alice, help me get the chili peppers. Kevin passed the peppers over, looking straight into Vincent's eyes with a hint of provocation. Let me help you. Let sis Alice take a break. Alice didn't feel that tired. Then you can help by cutting the peppers into sections, Vincent instructed, very naturally. Alice saw Jenna waving at her, so she washed her hands and went over. A little while later, Vincent asked, Do you know how to start a fire? Kevin hadn't finished cutting the peppers and called out for Alex to start the fire. Mark and Ben returned from fishing empty-handed. Vincent said, Mark, could you and this gentleman move the table? The two men put down their fishing gear and went to move the table. Whose car are the charcoals in? Alex asked loudly. Kevin had just put down a plastic stool and now went to get the charcoals. Hey, the lotus root hasn't been cut yet. Mark, could you cut it? Vincent handed the lotus root to the now free Mark. Alex, this tofu, wrap it in foil. Ben, wash these chives. Kevin, this potato, slice it. Mark, could you go to the host's place and get some bowls and chopsticks? Excellent. The men were all busy, all revolving around Vincent. His tone was gentle and friendly, he wore a smile, and his eyes were full of kindness. Jenna and Lily were dumbfounded. Sam, washing dishes, scoffed. Ha! No one can escape Vincent's approachable, rain-like command. After returning home, Alice fell asleep quickly. She was no longer the tense and worried person she used to be. Vincent stared at her for a long time, then carefully moved over and pulled her into his arms. This small person fitting perfectly in his embrace was truly lethal. In the middle of the night, he went to take a cold shower. He lay back down on the bed, this time keeping his distance, but he couldn't bear it and moved over to hold her again. Vincent stared at the ceiling, feeling that he was a perfect example of the saying, you reap what you sow. Buying a house was already part of the plan. His in-laws were moved, pulling Alice aside to lecture her. And Alice did repay him with her actions. She cooked, swept and mopped the floor, and even bought him shoes and a belt. She also vowed to wake up every morning to go running with him and to make breakfast, but unfortunately, she could never get up. When Vincent got up, he would see her hugging the blanket, nestled in the soft pillow like a sleeping cat, and couldn't bear to wake her. Vincent was on a business trip for over half a month. He returned at night. Even though he had told her in advance that he was almost home, she didn't seem excited at all. What was Alice doing? She was playing a game, the volume turned up high, so focused that she didn't even notice him coming in. He changed his shoes and stood in the entryway, watching the woman on the sofa. Her messy bun was tilted to one side, she was wearing his training shirt, her long neck exposed, the collar crooked to reveal half a shoulder and collarbone, and her legs were bare. Vincent's gaze immediately darkened. 2 weeks. 15 days. Vincent thought back on his few and far between conversations with Alice and frowned. It was always him asking, "Have you eaten?" She would reply, "Yes." He would ask, "What did you eat?" She would reply, "Food." Or, he would ask, "What are you doing?" She would reply, "Playing games." Or, he would ask, "Did you have time for breakfast this morning?" She would reply, "I'm at my parents' house." So perfunctory, so half-hearted, leaving no room for all the heartfelt things he wanted to say. For 2 whole weeks, if he didn't initiate a message or a call, Alice probably wouldn't even remember she had a husband on a business trip. He would think of her during breaks at work. At night, he would often wake up to an empty space beside him, lonely and restless. And this woman, her social media posts were full of her having a great time. The accumulated longing, perhaps a hug wouldn't be enough to cure the lovesickness. "You're back." Alice quickly glanced at Vincent, then immediately turned back to her phone, jumping up in frustration. "Kevin. Someone's stealing our blue buff." Vincent's hand, holding his bag, tightened abruptly, then relaxed. He placed his bag on the shoe cabinet, as if having made a decision. He looked at Alice, who was jumping around and cursing, his eyes deep. "Boiling a frog in warm water, it's too stifling. Time to switch to deep frying." He walked quietly to the bedroom, got his clothes, went into the bathroom, turned on the warm water, washed his hair, showered, slowly, meticulously, as if preparing for a grand feast. He put on his training uniform, casually towel-dried his hair, and opened the door. The woman was still engrossed in her game. He walked over and sat down beside her. Just as he was about to put his arm around her, the woman, in the heat of the battle, jumped to her feet again. Vincent raised an eyebrow, smoothly slid into the spot where she had been sitting, and when she sat down again, she landed right in his lap. Ha! She was his. The next morning, Vincent came out after hanging the laundry and looked at the empty house, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Perhaps, he should have slept with her again in the morning, to prevent her from having the energy to run. The renovation had to be done by a professional. Vincent thought of his college roommate. Vincent never expected Jake to bring up that incident, it had been so long ago. His friends had teased him about it for years. As Sam spoke, Vincent also remembered that day. It was a Monday, and he was on guard duty, a very ordinary day. Snowflakes were falling gently. He had been standing for nearly an hour. Most people around were used to seeing them, but a few were taking pictures. They were definitely tourists from out of town. She was like a splash of color that had broken through the black and white world, her bright red scarf almost dazzling in the vast whiteness. His hands and feet, which had gone numb, warmed up with the excitement in his heart. He stared at her intently from under the ice hanging from his cap. She took out her phone to take a picture of him, marveling, so handsome, but it must be so hard. She seemed to want to come closer but was deterred by the "Please be respectful" sign next to him. He silently prayed, just a little longer, my shift is almost over. Unfortunately, God didn't hear his prayer. She was about to leave, turning as if to go somewhere else. He wanted to call out to her, to grab her hand. It felt like he had taken a small step, but also like he hadn't moved at all. He was screaming inside, but in the end, not a sound came out. He watched helplessly as she walked further and further away, her figure shrinking until that small speck of red disappeared from his sight. "Mom, look, that soldier is crying." He could still almost hear the words. Before he even got back to the barracks, he took off his conspicuous army coat, stuffed his hat into the platoon leader's hands, said he had an urgent matter and needed leave, and turned to chase after her. He followed the path she had taken, searching and searching, asking everyone he met, "Have you seen a girl in a blue coat, red scarf, and brown hat?" "No. I think she went that way." But he couldn't find her, he just couldn't find her. Luckily, by a twist of fate, he met her again. He turned to look at Alice, his eyes full of softness. The party was over. Vincent dropped off the drunks one by one. He was looking forward to it, looking forward to how this little thing would throw a tantrum. Alice didn't throw a tantrum. She was very calm the whole way. "Honey," Vincent finally couldn't take it anymore. "Are you still angry?" "No." He tried to pull her closer, but she pushed him away. "Go away. I'm staying at Jenna's tonight." "That wouldn't do." Without another word, Vincent bent down, scooped her up in his arms, and ignored her struggles and kicks. He even managed to switch hands while walking to the side of the road to open the car door. The car drove on, and she kept her face turned to the window, refusing to look back. Vincent looked at her and chuckled. Alice whipped her head around and glared at him. "What are you laughing at?" "You're jealous." "No, I'm not. I'm very happy." "Happy my ass." "Shut up." But Alice wouldn't let Vincent touch her anymore, not even a hug. It's easy to go from frugal to lavish, but hard to go from lavish to frugal. This was simply unbearable. Finally, Vincent told a little story. When he was in college, his parents died in a car accident. By the time Vincent got there, their bodies had already been taken away by the funeral home. Both died on the spot. His brother handled the arrangements. He sat dazed at the scene of the accident. A little girl gave him a lollipop, strawberry flavored. Vincent sat there holding the lollipop all day. That night, the little girl passed by again, carrying snacks. Seeing him, she gave him a bag of potato chips. In the end, she seemed unable to leave him like that, so she sat with him, not saying a word. When it got too late, she mustered up the courage to give him a hug and even left her QQ number, saying he could chat with her if he was sad. Perhaps the hug was too warm, warming his entire body, so he remembered that string of numbers effortlessly. And then? Later, Vincent added the little girl's QQ. The girl was very concerned about him, constantly comforting him, telling him jokes to cheer him up, talking about how hard she worked in high school to get into college, about college clubs, about pop idols, about gossip, and complaining about the weirdos she met. He slowly emerged from his grief and found himself growing dependent on her. One day, the little girl suddenly asked, "Want to have an online relationship?" Vincent was overjoyed. Yes. He started training like crazy, trying to stand out, taking on all sorts of missions, hoping to get promoted so his family could join him at the base. Then, the little girl suddenly disappeared. Her QQ messages were never replied to again. So that day, when he saw her while on duty, Vincent almost lost his mind. Alice asked, "Did you find her?" "I did." Alice was very curious. "How did you find her?" Vincent stared straight at Alice, like he was looking at a heartbreaker, his eyes full of accusation. "I was on leave and having dinner with a childhood friend. He was fighting with his boyfriend and said in a fit of pique that he was going on a date with his junior from school, who had come all the way to Q City to find him. His boyfriend stormed off. He was drunk, and I was worried something would happen, so I went with him to meet the junior." Alice was stunned. "That junior was the little girl you'd been thinking about all this time?" Vincent looked at her. "Yes. The plot seems a bit familiar. 3 years ago, Alice went to a city for a civil service exam. She had to transfer in Q City to get to a city. After getting off the train, Alice took a picture of the Q City high-speed rail station and posted it on her social media. A friend from Q City, an upperclassman she knew from a club, saw it and invited her out to eat, saying he wanted to be a good host. Alice agreed. She couldn't remember what they talked about, only that he seemed to have just broken up, was in a bad mood, and kept drinking. His friend was quite tan, tall, with sharp eyes, a buzz cut, and a cold demeanor, as if he was also in a bad mood. Alice didn't dare to look at his friend the whole time, afraid he would suddenly lash out. She even thought the two of them were having a fight. One was out on a date with a female schoolmate, the other was there to supervise, and was getting super jealous. At the time, Alice was so excited by her own imagination. "I ship it, I ship it, I ship it." The tan jock and the moody, sensitive musician. Later, her upperclassman was picked up, and Alice was put in a car by the buzz-cut guy and taken to a hotel. After a shower, Alice came out of the bathroom in her slippers. The buzz-cut guy was sitting on the bed, smoking by the window, the room filled with smoke. It was a standard room, 2 beds, so she lay down on the other one and said very naturally, "I'm going to sleep now, good night." After closing her eyes, Alice realized something was wrong. Why wasn't he leaving? Isn't he into guys? He shouldn't be interested in girls, right? Alice heard him stand up, heard him walk past the foot of her bed, heard him go into the bathroom and close the door, heard him rustling as he took off his clothes. She secretly opened her eyes and saw a scene that shattered her worldview. Frosted glass. Holy crap. Holy crap. She could clearly see the tall, sturdy figure inside, even if she couldn't make out the details. She suddenly felt an itch in her nose and quickly touched it. Oh, no nosebleed. Her brain suddenly short-circuited. Because, just now, I showered first. So, is that why he was sitting with his back to the bathroom, smoking? This is insane. The water stopped. Alice lay on the bed, as stiff as a board. Waiting for him to come out felt like waiting for a death sentence. She heard the door open, heard him walk out, heard him pass the foot of her bed, heard him sit. Oh my God. He sat down on the edge of her bed. What to do, what to do? Tell him she likes women? Fight him? Run? Alice was in a state of inner turmoil and panic. He suddenly left and went to the other bed. A peaceful night passed without incident. Recalling this, Alice coughed awkwardly. So how did you end up here? I secretly followed her to a city, then followed her back to Y City. I came to see her every year on leave. After I got out of the army, I did everything I could to marry her. So, honey, shall we go to bed?